And it blesses. I think it blesses me more than it blesses them, but I'm not going to let them know that. I'm still going to try to convince them that I'm helping them and they're not helping me. But guys, I promise you, it's an amazing. Have you two decided who's going? Because I'm running out of stuff to talk about here. You all needed to make a choice. This gentleman, his name's Matt Hutchinson. He's from Canova. I'm not going to go into detail, but he's probably one of our. He's what we would call one of the leaders in the house, and that's all I'm going to share. I'm going to let him share.
I don't know about being a leader, but I haven't shared my testimony in several years. But I grew up in a Christian home. I kind of did the rebellion thing when I was younger. I'm 41. I'm married, have 2 kids, and but I, got my life straightened out when I was in my young 20s. Became married and had the kids and raised my family. And I was prescribed pain medication, which got a hold of me. And, once that gets a hold of you, it's hard to, to let that go. I had to have more and more of that pain medication, it became an addiction in my life. And, Belle Grove is kind of a unique place. I was there once in June this past year, and I was there about 30 days. And I thought, I've got this, I've got it, and I've got it beat. But I was there for the wrong reasons. Belle Grove is kind of like, I kind of look at it like, it takes me back to when I was a kid. And you go to church camp for a week, and you really have that time. You get to experience God, and then you're there for that week and you're on fire for God and you get thrown back out into the real world, and that's kind of like my first time at Belle Grove. I was there and I kind of was into it, and then I got back out and I kind of relapsed after 60 days. And I came back in December of this year and really have had an encounter with God, and it's changing my life. I was I was real involved in my church when I'd got my life straightened out when I was younger, and I was putting God first in my life, and there was something that happened. I don't, you try and pinpoint, what it was, that why you became addicted and stuff, but the bottom line for me was I quit putting God first in my life, and I started putting my wife ahead of God. I started putting my church ahead of God. I started putting my community ahead of God. And during that time, I was prescribed that pain medication, and Satan was just slowly putting things in place in my life that was directing me away from God. And this time I've got to spend at Belle Grove. It's almost like this is a spiritual awakening, where you just focus in. And the addiction part, it's easy to get that addiction part out of your life. It's always still going to be there, but it's all the other junk in your life that you've got to get straightened out. And so that's what I've been working on the last few months. Those fears of failure, you failed as a dad, you failed as a husband, you failed as a leader in your church, all those things, that, and I'm learning, that all that you, that's the devil telling me, you're not going to be successful, you're going to fail. But if I'm putting God first in my life, things are going to be all right. And, if I'm putting God first in my life, everything's going to be good with me and my wife. If I'm being the leader in my family that I need to be, my kids are going to be all right. Everything's going to fall into place if I'm putting Him first in my life. And I'm just thankful for this time, to have this spiritual awakening, in my life. And thank you guys for having us here. You guys are really musically talented, really enjoy the music, and you can just feel the Spirit of God here. And we thank you guys for having us.
And another really neat, cool thing about Belle Grove is we have guys from every walk of life, guys from every age group, everybody, guys from every. I wasn't talking about you, John. Shh, get back here. But we've got, from every social demographic, from every every type of, from professionals to people that's never worked, to people that could probably start their own restaurant, to people that can pick up an electric guitar and absolutely kill it, to guys that can play a mean PlayStation 4. It's just amazing that, and you would think that when, right now there's 13 men plus, myself and Mr. Nicely, that's just tonight. So at any given time, there's 15 to 18 men living in the same house, and I don't know, I'm sure some of the ladies here can probably know kind of what it's like to live with a bunch of men, but it is, I'm telling you, sometimes it is, I really don't want to use the word stressful, but I really can't think of another, but God really makes it work, He really, and we've had guys that were taking it out in the yard in the morning, and by that night, hugging each other, telling them they love them, and that's just the grace of God, and that's when God's in the midst, when He's taking care of those things. So, this next gentleman that's going to come up, this next young man that's going to come up and speak, he's a graduate of the program, but he chose to return and do an internship. So he's actually in the process now of becoming an employee of the company that helped to present Christ to him in a way that changed his life. So, that to me, that's just an amazing thing. And I respect this man. He's my elder, but not by much, John, not by much. But he is a very, very spiritual, spirit-led man. Sometimes he might be a little rough around the edges, but we all are. But he's a spiritual father to a lot of the guys in the house, and I really respect him. And so you can't say anything that makes me look.
I don't know what's going to come out.
Uh,
Hello.